This week on Supercars Torque, I double check all the plugs to make sure the sound works first time out and say Craig Lowndes to try and get the dog next door to bark. So while some of the population of Melbourne's keeping an eye on a stupid horse race today, we're going to look ahead to a proper race, the Sandown 500, which is on next weekend. So there's been a bit of news during the week, not controversial news like what we've had the last few weeks, with people signing out for safety cars and things like that. We've had Andre Heimgartner's been confirmed at Kelly Racing, so that'll be Rick and Andre next year. That's confirmed, and also I assume that Castrol's been confirmed as Rick's sponsor for next year. They've done some renderings of what the Mustang would look like with this year's paint job, so I don't think they'd be going to the trouble of doing that unless Castrol was on board for next year. Another signing for next year is Macca Jones. He's signed on again to drive the third car at Brad Jones Racing, the one that's run under the Tim Blanchard Cool Drive entry. That's good that he's getting a second run. His results this year haven't been the best, but it's a big step up, and it's hard to judge his Super 2 results. Some of the guys are running really good cars. We know Andrew Jones did a relatively good job in the main series. Like, he wasn't brilliant, but he did okay. And his results in the BJR equipment haven't been outstanding. So Macca was generally running up the front towards for most of last year. Had a few results that kind of got taken away through mechanical issues. Some might say it was his own fault, slamming over curbs, but it's good that he gets a second shot at it, essentially. Hopefully he's learnt a bit off Nick and Tim this year as his teammates, and hopefully he can go forward next year. Or maybe it's a sign of the other young blokes kind of in the category, or the ones trying to come up, that Macca gets another run and some of the other guys haven't got to make the step up. That's another way of looking at it. A confirmation for this weekend, Richie Stanaway will be back. Bit of an interesting one. I thought he was done for the rest of the year. A little bit of kind of the tinfoil hatness here. I'm wondering if Adderton's last check hasn't cleared. That's the last of the Boost mobile checks. I wonder if Peter's come along and said, "Hey, I'm not going to make the last payment for the year unless you put Richie back in the car." Who knows? I think Stanaway is probably better than his results in Supercars have shown. I mean, in his one Super 2 run, he won one of the races at Eastern Creek there, and the other year he won Sandown with Cam Waters. He's not bad. I think the equipment's maybe been holding him back, and maybe the environment. Might be one of these drivers that needs, maybe he doesn't look like the kind of cuddly kind of type, but certain drivers, thrive in certain environments. Maybe Richie hasn't found the right environment. I have heard he is more than likely going to be on the grid next year. That's a bit of an interesting one with a few of the other guys that are floating around that haven't got drives. But stranger things have happened. So Scott McLaughlin, he's got a brand new Mustang for the weekend. A lot of people said, kind of taking a new car out at Sandown. Well, they haven't got a choice because the old car's trashed. But they actually took it for a shakedown the other day, so they slapped that together pretty quickly, which a lot of people were saying, there's no chance of him doing a shakedown or anything. Penske knocked it out of the park. Also, speaking of Penske, apparently he's bought the whole of the Indianapolis Speedway and the IndyCar Series and the whole lot. So that's a bit interesting, and so I don't think he's going to be losing any sleep over losing one Mustang. The other bit of interesting news during the week, I heard they're talking about joining up Super 2 and Super 3 and making it one Super Series. Uh, I'm not sure if they're going to change the name or anything. I'll just still call it Super 2. It's a bit interesting. I think the idea is because the grids in both series they're a bit small at the moment. They're not massive. Having said that, Super 2's usually in the high teens, early 20s. Not sure about the Super 3. I think they're kind of for the mid-low teens. So if you have one big grid, then the problem is you're pushing into the 30s if everyone stays in it, which then might make the main game look a little bit sad. I'm not sure about this. I think it's a good idea to have the steps, and especially because the Super 3 is the really old cars, whereas Super 2 is essentially the current cars, just the second-hand current cars. The biggest issue is the costs, and the costs are a problem the whole way through. They really need to sit down and sort all this cost crap out, really, because the budgets to do a Super 2, it's just ridiculous, really. But then, to run around the main game, that's ridiculous as well. And I think with the main game, there's a bit of like, well, if you want to compete and whatever, you're not going to be at the front. Well, don't go and try and outspend, Triple Eight and Penske and that. You can run around the back and still have fun. But the idea of Super 2, I think, is as kind of that stepping stone. And I don't think it's so fair that someone can kind of just come along with more money and just outspend the other guys to make themselves look better. And I think, as I said a bit with, the Macaulay Jones of the world, sometimes it's a bit hard to judge exactly where they're at in the lower series because they haven't got, a heap of money or, someone bankrolling it, rich parents or something like that. So I think rather than kind of going, the grids are a bit small, we'll combine them, that's a bit of a band-aid solution. I think they really need to look at the costs and bring it back down, have where, it's hard to say, but if you could do it on $500,000 like Super 2 for the year, all of a sudden I think you'd see the grids kind of prop right up. I think at the moment some of the front guys are spending a bit more than that though, which is, it's hard to find that kind of budget for the year at the moment. So on to the weekend. It's the exciting retro round. Everyone brings out the retro liveries. Well, unfortunately at the time of filming we haven't seen many. I think we'll probably see Walkinshaw will probably they usually get involved. I'd say Penrite will do something as well. They usually, have a crack at it. Penske and Triple Eight are a little bit, they don't join in. But we have seen some liveries. Chas Mostert, they're running a plain red kind of, it's a Moffat Coke Mustang inspired livery, which is kind of cool because James Moffat's his co-driver, and I've heard Alan isn't too well at the moment, so it's a bit of a nice look back for him. Macaulay Jones, who we were talking about before, him and Dean Canto, their Cool Drive colours are going to have a very Ozimo look to it. Ozimo was the sponsor of Brad Jones Racing back in, I think it was 2000, 2001, 2002, when they first started up. For the first year, I think they were running one car and then they had the two. They've gone with the white livery that Brad ran back in the day. That looks really cool. Those boys do a great job. And the only other one that's come out, which is, it's a bit of a retro livery and just a sponsor for this round, Todd Hazelwood's going to run a Sharon Rentals livery. Looks the same as all the other Sharon Rentals liveries we've seen over the years. So the format for this weekend is the usual fun qualifying thing that we have at Sandown. Starts off, you have your normal 20-minute qualifying session on the Saturday, which sets the grid for Race to the Grid run. So the main guys will go in, do a normal kind of qualifying session, and then the co-drivers have to jump in the car for the first qualifying race, and gets a bit jumbled up as we have, different quality drivers. Not as fun these years because the co-drivers are pretty fucking good these days. And then that sets the grid for race 2, which is then the main guys, and the finishing positions of their race makes the grid for Sunday. So the big change this year is that they're actually giving 50 points for the winner of each of the races, and it goes down, I think it's like 42 for second, etc. In previous, these haven't counted as races, they've been qualifying sessions, I think. Now they're actually, so if say someone like Prema goes out and wins his one on Saturday, more than likely because Scott will probably qualify on pole, he'll get to start on pole. But Tander or Lowndes probably will beat him off the line and will probably go on to win. That's my prediction for the weekend there on that one. So Tander or Lowndes, whoever wins out of those two, they will be chalked up as a win and they get 50 points for themselves. And then when the main drivers get in and, Scotty goes through and passes whatever Red Bull car he needs to, then he gets chalked down with another 50 points and a win. So then on Sunday for the main race, instead of 300 points that we normally see for an endurance like this, you get 250. So the maximum a driver can score for the weekend is the normal 300. 350 points available though, for the winners of the weekend, but 300 for one driver. So I hope it makes sense the way I've explained it in my head. I hope it makes sense. And unfortunately, this is the last time we're going to see this confusing format, and I do kind of enjoy it. It's good at Sandown to watch them, and it was actually a bit of fun in previous years when each driver had to take part in one race, but it wasn't a dedicated co-driver one and a dedicated main driver one. You used to get where you'd have them a bit mixed up. A lot of the time you'd see the main drivers do the second race, but there'd be someone kind of, mid to the back of the grid who'd go, bugger this, I'm going to jump in and have a crack against the co-drivers and get this car punched right up the front. A bit like what you see at Bathurst, where you see some of the co-drivers start, some of the main, and what you will see it this weekend, and be interesting to see who's the main driver in the Techno car this weekend. So we'll see if Jono pulls rank again and has a crack himself. I think I've basically covered off my predictions for the weekend before. How can you look past, either Scott? I don't think Scott's going to go and trash the car this weekend, so he should be. Having said that, wouldn't have thought he would have done it at Gold Coast either, but I think it's going to be between those guys and the two Triple Eight cars. And once again, Triple Eight, Penske got the fastest package. Triple Eight have got the fastest driver lineup. Nothing against Prema, he did a great job at Bathurst and that. But as I've said, just against Tander or Craig Lowndes, he's not going to beat them. But the other interesting thing for this weekend, looking at the long-term forecast, which is always right, so you can take this one to the bank, looks like there is going to be a bit of rain around the weekend. So I did have a bit of a cheeky look at Sportsbet before, but they actually didn't have any odds for Stanaway. So I'm not sure, every other car seemed to be listed except for Stanaway, but I thought maybe, it'd be like 1,000 to 1 or something. Put a cheeky dollar on Stanaway, because if it's wet, it could be interesting. So that's my predictions for the weekend, and unless you're an idiot, put your money on the 17 or the two Red Bull cars, because I can't see anyone else winning on outright speed. Having said this, watch it bucket down and someone from left field come out and win and prove me wrong once again. So until next time, I'll see you later.